we need to discuss some more additional consonantal gestures. And within these additional consonantal gestures, we will discuss in this topic affricates, basically. That what are affricates, how they are created, and how can we define them, right? So we are going to discuss affricates, right? Affricate is basically the mixture of stop and fricative, right? Just if you remember the first process found in stop, when the air is completely blocked, all right? So the first process is taken from stop. Air is completely blocked, but like in stop, we release that pressure all of a sudden. But this is not in the case of affricate. In affricate, the release is like fricatives, right? So the release is in the case of turbulence, right? Friction is allowed, right? So this African sound is the mixture of stops and fricatives. And phonetically, there is one interesting thing about affricates, because phoneticians, they used to think that affricates are two sounds, right? Since there are two sounds involved, so they used to think that affricates are two sounds. But now phonetically, it is proved that affricates are sounds which have the features of two sounds, right, together. And this process of mixing two sounds, like stop and fricative, this process of mixing takes place simultaneously, more interestingly, right? So an affricate is the mixture of stop and fricative, and the process is done simultaneously. And remember one more thing about affricates, that when you are to transcribe affricates, there is one tie bar, if you just see here, right? So this tie bar is an important point because you would be transcribing this is tie bar, right? And it is put above these two sounds. Like if you just remember these symbols, this is a t symbol and this is sh symbol. But when they are simultaneously produced, then it becomes ch. Similarly, this is d sound and this is j sound. But when this sound is simultaneously, these two sounds are pronounced, then it becomes j, right? And this tie bar is put above these two sounds. They are joined together through this tie bar, all right? So affricates are two sounds joined together, simultaneously pronounced, and the result is affricate sound. For example, the first sound in word chair, ch sound, which is voiceless, ch sound, all right? Post-alveolar, right? This is post-alveolar sound, affricate, ch. And it is voiceless because the air flow from the larynx, it is allowed freely to come out, right? There is no vibration, as it is in the case of j, which is again post-alveolar affricate, but this is voice sound, right? So chair and chess. The first sound is affricate, which is voiceless, and then in words like jack and jog, right? The first sound is j, which is voiced affricate. All right. There are more examples of affricates other than English. In English, of course, these two sounds are affricates, but there are languages in which we have more than these two affricate sounds. I can give you some examples, and one example from a Pakistani very common language, Pashto, ch, but in Pashto, the one more sound exists, which is th, right? Th. So if you can just distinguish between these two sounds, ch and th, like th, right? So ch, like chapal or chadar, the Urdu words, right? But this sound also exists in Pashto, which is th, especially the Afghan variety of Pashto, they include these sounds. And it is transcribed like this t and s, right? This is s, and this is j. So it is different than these, right? J, this is j, and it is j. This is ch, and this one is th. So just a distinguishable point is that th is different than it. It's another type of affricate. One more very interesting example, which I can give you from the New York dialect, the Yankees language, the New York dialect of American English, they pronounce this sound th, right? Th, in word like thing, right? Th, they pronounce it in terms of affricates, though that's very hard to pronounce. I cannot pronounce that, right? And this is the, right? So, but these are typical to those people from New York. They can pronounce them. And one more thing about affricates is that in some languages, like Urdu is one of them, there's ch sound, like this voiceless affricate ch can also be aspirated. You can just superimpose aspiration on it, right? So that's also one of the possibility. And the sounds are very common in English as well as in Indo-Aryan languages.